see. Okay. All right. Hey, 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 everybody. Welcome back to welcome back to the continuation of our Life is Strange franchise tier list videos. Um, as a little refresher, uh, uh, the final soundtrack tier list as that we finished up a while ago is right here. Uh, yes, is because we had Before the Storm soundtrack, the original Life is Strange soundtrack at S tier, True Colors and Double Exposure at A tier, and then we had the Before the Storm farewell bonus episode on B, True Colors Wavelength bonus episode also on B, and Life is Strange 2 and the Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit also at B, which mainly because since primarily Before the Storm, the farewell episode, the Wavelength episode, and uh, Captain Spirit were very short episodes, were very short things, so there wasn't a lot of music going on. Not saying the music was bad or anything, it's just there wasn't a lot of it. And as far as Life is Strange 2 goes, there wasn't a lot of music in that either, which was kind of disappointing. And there wasn't that many songs that I found memorable for myself, so hence why two was down here. So but in our last video, we started True Colors, going through each chapter of True Colors. So we did the first chapter, which was called Side A, and that chapter wound up being in A tier, which as I said, for the most part, for most of these games, usually the first episode, chapter, or whatever, whichever you want to call it, usually sets up the game pretty well. So usually they do really really good, except for obviously Life is Strange 2, which had its own problems in that first episode. But as you can see from the tier list of how this all went, so so far on our S tier, we have the original Life is Strange episode 3, Chaos Theory, uh, original Life is Strange episode 4, Dark Room. No, not Dark Room. Was it Dark Room? Yeah, yeah. Episode 4 was called Dark Room. Okay. And then we have Before the Storm episode. That should be episode 2, which was the Tempest play episode, and then the farewell bonus episode. So far, all of these are on the S ranks, the tippity top, and then we have on A rank the first episode of Life is Strange 1, Chrysalis, and then we have original Life is Strange episode 2, which I believe was called Out of Time, I believe, and then episode 5 of Life is Strange Polarized, which was probably the most fitting name for episode for the final episode of the original Life is Strange, because even over 10 years later, people are still pretty polarized on the ending of the original game. So really forward thinking with the name of that episode, with the name of the finale. And then we have episode 1 of Before the Storm with and then episode 3 of Before the Storm down here for what was it? Hell is Empty. And then, as I said, chapter 1 of True Colors, side A, found itself ironically also in A tier. And then we have episode 1 of Life is Strange 2 at B tier with Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, and the final episode, episode 5 of Life is Strange 2, also on B tier. And then on C tier, which is so far the lowest that any of these have gotten to, is episode 2 of Life is Strange 2, episode 4 of Life is Strange 2, and episode 3 of Life is Strange 2. So far, Life is Strange 2 is definitely bringing up a majority of the back end here. So, yeah. But yeah, so we'll be continuing with True Colors, and what was it? That would be chapter 2 of True Colors. So before we get into it, there won't be a little, there won't be a trailer or anything for these episodes to segue into each episode, mainly because, as a little reminder, True Colors was the first Life is Strange game to be released all in one shot, and not each episode every couple of months. So there wasn't so they didn't have any trailers for each individual episode. So it was just, here's a trailer of a bunch of scenes from the whole game. So yeah. So for this there won't be any little trailers to introduce each episode, but we will have a new guest to the stream, joining me and Rachel, Chloe, and Max here. Let me get them real quick. There we go. Oh, you little glare. There we go. We got little Alex here joining us as we review her game. As we continue to review her debut game. So she'll be here with me. I think I'll just have you. Yeah, I'll just have you down here on my lap here, because the table does not have enough room for you and Max, Chloe, and Rachel all together. So you'll just have to make do with just sitting on my lap here. Anyway, so let me take a little drink. And we could dive into chapter 2. So, at the end of the last episode, Alex here, unfortunately, with Alex, Gabe, and Ryan going to save Ethan, the little boy, from the abandoned mining area, which was which the mining company Typhon was going to be doing some blasting. So they were in the area, so it was a big danger zone. So trying to get to him so that way they can get the to make sure he doesn't get caught in any blasts and rock slides and all that stuff. So they go to do that. Alex saves Ethan from a little cliff that he found, that he wound up finding himself like kind of like trapped in a little corner. So you had to move yourself across a log and get him, and then come right back. So after doing that, and being told, because Gabe was able to use the satellite phone and call Typhon to call off the blast because Ethan was in the area and, don't want to get him killed and whatnot. So, from what Gabe said, he got a hold of somebody and they were going to call off the blast and whatnot. So after rescuing Ethan, when we thought everything was fine, we end up hearing the blast sirens and then the explosions in the area, which start causing a rock slide. So apparently, even if Gabe did contact someone to not to do the blast, for whatever reason they still went through with it. So not great. So the rock slide comes down. We're able to get. Unfortunately, we were not able to get for cover in time, and Gabe got a nice big rock fall and bounce right off his face and knock him over the cliff. So since Alex and Gabe were tied together, so when she was because she was doing the catwalk thing across the dead tree to get to Ethan, Gabe going off the cliff starts pulling Alex off the cliff. So what was it? Ryan ends up grabbing the rope to stop Alex from getting pulled, and then he's trying to pull Gabe back up, but then the rocks and stuff start falling down the hill. So Ryan's like, "Fuck it, we need to get into cover." He pulls out his switchblade, cuts the rope. Obviously, Gabe is gonna continue to fall down the cliff now because the rope is cut. Even though most likely he got killed immediately when the fucking boulder fucking smacked him in the face. So most likely he died instantly from that. But if anything, if he didn't die from that, he definitely was gonna die from the fall down the cliff once they cut the rope. So they cut the rope. They're able to Ryan, Alex, and Ethan are able to hunker down in a little ditch or something that's kind of protected from all the falling rocks, so they're able to wait it out, wait for the rocks to finish falling. Uh, the rocks also end up rolling down the cliff, so yet again, even if Gabe somehow survived being smacked in the face with a rock and falling down a cliff, he would have been crushed by all the rocks that are and boulders and stuff that are falling down the cliff, because they all have nowhere to go but down the same cliff that Gabe fell down would fall down. So yeah, they really went overkill to really emphasize the point of like, yeah, he did. He did. so yeah. And then Alex, obviously distraught and everything, uh, crawls over to the edge of the cliff to look down the cliff. Obviously, to presumably see Gabe's crushed what's left of his body there. We don't see it, but from her facial reactions, she obviously sees it. But yeah, so that was pretty much the end of the first episode. Um, Along with all the introductions to all the recurring characters you're gonna be interacting with from this point on. So yeah, that's where we left off. So now episode episode 2 begins pretty much kind of how you would expect it to begin. Um, Pretty dour with the with Gabe's wake. So they're doing the wake inside the bar. They close down the bar for the day to do the wake. So you have pretty much all the main town folk are all there. Uh, Obviously, Alex, Ryan, Steph, um, Charlotte. Ethan isn't there. Obviously, the kid is gonna be very upset, so he's not at the wake. Um, Ducky, Officer Pike, um, Eleanor. No, Eleanor's not there. The old lady that owns the flower shop, she's not there. There's a reason for that that will come up later. But what was it? Riley's there though, and oddly enough, well, not oddly because what was it? Mac is with Riley at the wake, so it's kind of weird that Mac is there, even though Mac and Gabe didn't really get along, mainly because of Mac's extreme jealousy issues. That was a big issue in the last episode between them. So obviously the only reason he's there is because Riley's there, and obviously he can't uh, get past Riley and uh, be obsessive with her. So he's gonna be there regardless, even though it's insanely awkward that he is. And Jed is also there. Ryan's dad, the guy who owns the Black Lantern bar that we're all at, and Gabe worked and lived at. So yeah. So they have their wake. Pretty much everybody has almost everybody speaks, like gets up next to this nice little table that that they have a big picture of Gabe, and everybody kind of put uh, little personal mementos uh, of theirs, that's connected to Gabe, like some connected memory of Gabe and stuff that meant something to them. So they kind of put those all on the table, which is really sweet and nice. Um, so pretty much a bunch of people. We go through a montage of people standing up next to the table and talking about, their relationship with Gabe, their experiences with Gabe, what they miss about him, and stuff like that. We got Riley says some stuff. Um, Ducky, um, Officer Pike, uh, Jed says some stuff. Steph, uh, is that everybody? Let's see, Ducky, Pike, Riley, Jed, and Steph. Yeah, I think that's everybody. Well, everybody that speaks. Um, yeah. So in any event, Jed kind of gets the last word to end the wake and stuff after everyone else has said their piece, and then Jed says in closing that what happened to Gabe was a very tragic accident, and then that triggers Ryan to follow up to say that it wasn't an accident, that Gabe called Typhon to call off the blast, but they didn't. But for whatever reason, they didn't listen. Even though Gabe told us that he talked to someone and they said they were gonna cancel it. So Ryan's upset about it, and then Mac chimes in and says that the if Gabe called, that it would have that Mac would have been the one to pick it up, because he works for Typhon, and that was his shift. So if Gabe called, he would have answered it. And Mac says that nobody called and he didn't get a phone call, and then obviously that pisses off Ryan more. So they start arguing. Ryan's calling Mac a liar, and then Mac starts getting up, and they start like almost getting like nose to nose, like arguing with each other. And then the Charlotte ends up uh, screaming at both of them and telling them to to stop. This is enough. This is not the time or the place to be doing this right now. And then Ryan starts uh, kind of letting his his guilt kind of come out because he starts being like, it wasn't it wasn't my fault. I wasn't the one that killed him because Ryan's thinking that Gabe probably was still alive, but he was the one that ended up killing Gabe when he cut the rope. So Ryan has a little bit of like a survivor's guilt issue that he's like dealing with. So Ryan's saying that, and then Mac pretty much follows him up on that, and pretty much like pokes at him more and is like, "Didn't you though?" and stuff like that. So they start like yelling again and whatnot. And at this point, Alex, um, pretty much like she doesn't yell or anything. She clearly had enough, so she ends up like leaving, going upstairs to well, it's her apartment because Gabe kind of gave her his apartment before all the situation and everything went down. So she ends up just going to the apartment to get away from the arguing and everything. So she's up there for a minute. When she leaves to go upstairs, Steph notices her. So once Alex is already in the apartment, she's kind of leaning against the door, trying to calm down because all the arguing and everything is making her even more upset. And then she ends up getting a knock at the door, and she doesn't immediately like want to open the door, but then it turns out to be Steph that is knocking on the door, because she ends up pretty much yelling through the door, pretty much being like it's me, it's Steph and whatnot. So Alex at that point is like, all right, I'll open the door. So she opens the door. Steph is pretty like asking her like A is pretty much telling her like, "Hey, fuck those guys. Don't worry about it. Are you okay?" And pretty much Alex can kind of say no, or kind of try to be the strong type and say yes or whatnot. Either way, Steph will pretty much like tell you it's not your job to keep it together. It's okay to not be okay. Um, so pretty much Alex kind of invites Steph to come in and whatnot. So Steph comes in. They Steph kind of like walks around, looking around and stuff, and she's like, she starts kind of reminiscing a little bit on some stuff that she sees in the apartment that's obviously Gabe's and stuff. So she starts reminiscing on the different things. There was they have a fuck, what you call it? The little table with the hockey thing with the little figures. You have to twist them and thing. I'm blanking on what the dang thing's called. But either way, um, she sees the little game table. She's like, "Oh, uh, we used to, me and Gabe used to play this a lot and stuff." She sees a like play sword, and she's like, "Oh, we were going to, me, Gabe, and Ethan were gonna go to do some go to like a LARPing session with like a bunch of people, you know, like real life like RPG thing where you dress up and actually act out like little scenarios and things like that. So she's kind of like, oh, you know, Gabe was really looking forward to it. We were mostly doing it for Ethan, but by the end of it, Gabe was like way more into it than everyone else, which is kind of funny. Um, and then the big thing that kind of grabs her attention is by the little fireplace in the corner of the room. She sees. There you go. Now that I'm getting closer to the fool's ball table. There you go. That's what the game was called, the fool's ball table. Mainly because I remember that what gets Steph's attention is this bottle of liquor that her and Gabe put put a little piece of paper on and wrote "Fool's Ball Champion" on it. So they kind of made the little bottle of liquor, like a Fool's Ball trophy thing, because since they both loved like competing against each other to try to win, uh, going back and forth, playing foosball and stuff, because Gabe didn't wasn't really good at it, but he was like really determined to try to beat Steph. So they would always like play some foosball, which is kind of funny. Um, so she sees that and is surprised that he the kept the liquor bottle that they treated as a trophy. So Steph starts getting really upset, which is really strong because it starts kind of like affecting Alex. Like Alex can see like the really blue aura around her, and it actually starts kind of like affecting. Well, only Alex can see all this stuff, but it starts kind of affecting the environment around because Alex starts seeing that it gets like really cloudy outside the windows and kind of like rainy and stuff. Um, so Steph's pretty much like goes by the window and kind of stands at the window and is like, "Sorry, Alex, I just need a minute." Um, so it's at this point that you have to. This is the first time that you're doing this, but it's also a almost kind of like a tutorial on what you're gonna be doing later, cause um, because what you have to do is kind of figure out what specifically is getting like Steph upset and kind of help her with it and uh, help her not be so depressed and kind of like calm down type of thing. So so what you end up doing is you go around the room and you have to find you'll be able to see it because they all have like a little aura, a blue aura around them. There's these different things that when you interact with them, you you will hear like some dialogue related to that, like a memory, like an emotional memory or something that's tied to that. So there's a couple of them. There's like one at a video game thing. There's one by the record player. Uh, there's a series of ones that are actually connected to each other. You could see some of this stuff out of order, but if you know the particular order, you could actually see it in order. Is um, is the is obviously the foosball liquor bottle trophy a uh, some shot glasses and the foosball table, I believe. And when you look at those three, there's pieces of a memory of the fact that Steph was talking to Gabe and was being like, I'm looking for like another job, and I was gonna leave, and I'm gonna leave town and whatnot. Like I found this new job and stuff, and uh, and I kind of already bought my uh, like ticket or whatnot to leave and whatnot. And Gabe is obviously upset. So he's pretty much like, hey, you can't leave and all this stuff. So he pretty much makes a bet to her that if we play one last foosball game, and if I win, you stay. So he's pretty much challenging Steph to stay if Gabe wins. And ironically, because he has the the foosball trophy sitting on the fireplace, Gabe obviously wins, and that's why Steph is still here because obviously that whole conversation happened uh, a while before the game even started. So with that information, Alex ends up uh, kind of kind of challenging. Well, not kind of like does challenge Steph to a foosball game to like play a foosball game for old time's sake, right? Like for Gabe, let's play a game. So reluctantly, Steph is like, all right, whatever, I guess. So you end up playing a game. Um, Primarily, you can win, and then if you win, to kind of cheer up Steph, you're kind of playing into her competitive side. So Alex kind of starts uh, talking a little bit of trash, and is like hey, at least you played your best and all that stuff. And Steph is like, "Hey, that wasn't my best now." And she's like, "No," and Alex is like, "No, it's okay," and whatnot. And Steph is like, "Okay, let's go again. Come on." So you end up playing again. Um, and this time Steph is actually playing a little harder, so this game is a little bit more difficult. And then if you win, Steph gets really competitive, and she's like, "Dang it, okay, okay, one last game, winner takes all." And now Steph is like clearly like really into the game now. So at this point, you could win, you could not. Also during these games, Alex and Steph are having a conversation. So while you're trying to play the foosball game, you also have to pay attention to certain like questions and responses that Steph is asking Alex and Alex is answering. So so you have to kind of like multitask a little bit. And during the later games that you play, Steph is really like asking like more and more like questions and stuff. So you're really like multitasking, trying to distract you. But in any case, you could win. Again, you could win all of these, which is leads to some funny outcomes and things like that. It's really fun little interaction and back and forth that they have with the foosball game. Really fun stuff. So in any event, she uh, you end up cheering up Steph. So because Alex starts seeing that the rain clouds and the rain and stuff outside start disappearing and everything's getting back to normal. So so that all happens, and then and pretty much uh, Steph and Alex are like, it is Ryan does have a point. It's weird that Gabe said he got in contact with someone to cancel the thing, to cancel the blast, but they did it anyways still and whatnot. And it's kind of weird. Like, why would they do that? So pretty much, Alex is pretty much like, I'm gonna find out what's going on. Like like obviously Mac kind of know, like Mac is kind of suspicious, like he knows something. So I'm gonna see if I can find him and find out what's going on. And pretty much Steph is like, hey, if you need something, I'll help you out. So we get Steph as a nice little investigative partner, which is pretty cool. Hold on, be right back. Okay. Okay, so now that we finished that, uh, Steph leaves. Now you're back in control of Alex. Uh, you can kind of fix up the place a little bit, clean up the place. You could go downstairs. Everyone has already left by the time you go downstairs. So pretty much everyone's gone. Uh, you could you could at this point you could also leave something on the memory table if you want to. So you could pretty much go upstairs, go back upstairs, and find something in your apartment to put in the table. I believe um, I know there's at least like two different items you can choose to put on the table. The record, the record that you bought for Gabe in the first episode, you could put on the table, and you could also put the picture of Alex and Gabe when they were younger with their mom and dad. Like you could also put that picture up there, but at the table. But either way, uh, you you kind of fix up a little bit of the bar, and then it turns out Jed was still around, so Jed kind of teleports in, and he's pretty much like, hey, you don't have to do that. He kind of apologizes for the scene that Ryan and Mac did and everything. He also gives Alex gives Alex the the key to pretty much a key to the bar, to the apartment, and everything and whatnot, and pretty much says, "Hey, you could stay here. You could stay as long as you like, and whatnot." Meanwhile, Alex is like, "I'm grateful, but I don't want to. I don't want to stay here for free. I want to earn my keep." And pretty much, Jed is like, it was like, take some time to get your stuff together, and then we can talk about you earning your keep and all that stuff. So Alex pretty much says thank you, and then at that point you can leave the bar and start your thing on looking for on trying to track down Mac and start asking him some questions on what's going on what he may or may not know. So once you get out of the bar, you can talk to Officer Pike, who's standing next to his police car. You can talk to him. A tiny little interaction with him, which is which is pretty much like Pike kind of apologizing to her, like sorry that this had to happen to you type of thing, and making sure you're okay. If you need anything, that he's there, let him know, like type of thing, which is pretty good. Officer Pike is a pretty good guy. So you could also find by a little area by the um little river by the park, Ethan, who's pretty much like like standing there kind of moping a little bit. You could try to talk to him, but Ethan's pretty upset, and he's like, sorry, I just don't want to talk or anything right now. So pretty much you can't really do much else with him, but yeah, you can find him there. You could also do two little kind of like little side quests where you could help this bird watching chick, this bird watching girl that's trying to find this like special bird, and you could actually help her find it. Like you could go around to an area that's like in the corner or something, like by the park area, and you'll find the bird like up in a tree just there, and then you could go back to the bird watching girl and let her know, which is actually pretty funny because if you once you let her know, she starts moving to where the bird is, to where you tell her the bird is. And if you actually follow her, it's kind of funny because she's kind of power walking. She's kind of walking to the bird like, which is a kind of funny little animation. And you can follow her all the way there doing that. And then when she gets to the tree with the bird, with the to the where the bird is, because she has binoculars, so she puts out the binoculars, and she's like looking, and it's like, girl, you have the binoculars and you're looking in this direction, and it's like, girl, the bird is right above you on the tree. So it's pretty funny. It's a pretty funny little thing. And then there's also this little this other little side quest you could do a little later, because it's at this point of the game where you could kind of freely explore like Haven more. Because as I said, you got the little park you could walk around in. Obviously, the Black Lantern bar. There's a little dock area you can kind of like sit down at and like chill if you want to, and relax. You also have some pretty important side objectives that you can do, which is pretty much because you get like text messages and stuff from that Charlotte wants to see you, and you also get a text message from Steph saying if you have the time, stop over the record store because she has something that she wants to tell you also. So those things you can do if you want to, or you can not. But some of those things kind of have some pretty messed up consequences if you don't do them. So after you do everything at the park, you walk down the street, and I believe the first place you can go to, well, that you go past down the line if you're going straight down the street, I think is Charlotte's dispensary, her weed shop that you could go into. So you can go into there to check up on Charlotte, see how she's doing. Also, during your conversation with Charlotte, when you go to see her, um, she'll mention Ethan and what Alex and Charlotte talk about in regards to Ethan. Will actually be different depending on if you try to talk to him at the park or not. Like if you actually did that. So it's kind of a nice little variation of dialogue depending on if you talk to Ethan or not, which is pretty cool. Um, but what Charlotte really wants to talk to Alex about is she got a deal from Typhon, a document telling her that if she agrees to not pursue any legal action or whatnot against them in regards to Ethan and Gabe's death, then they will give her a bunch of money. Um, they don't specifically state like how much money that Typhon is gonna pay off Charlotte with, but they do emphasize that it is a lot of money, and it could really set up Ethan's future financially and stuff if she takes the deal. So pretty much she wants to know Alex's opinion. So pretty much you can convince Charlotte to either take the deal or not take the deal. And even Alex brings up that isn't it kind of shady that they're presenting her with this deal to begin with, because it's like if they didn't do anything wrong, then why are they like offering this to you? You know what I mean? So so we end up so for me, I kind of tell her I usually always tell her not to take the deal, because it's like I'm trying to find out what's happening, so just hold off on doing anything right now, type of thing. Um, whoop, Alex, why are you falling? All right, there you go. But yeah, so you pretty much I usually tell Charlotte not to take the deal, so after doing that, she pretty much what you tell her to do, she pretty much does. Also, if you don't see her at all and you progress the game to the point that you go past all that and you're not able to go back and talk to her, she'll take the deal if you don't go to see her. Like you won't be given a choice. She'll just do it anyway. So for this, we'll uh, won't take the deal. So once you discuss that with Charlotte, you leave, and then from there you can go to the record store and talk to Steph to see what Steph wants to talk to you about. Um, so once you get to the record store, there's also here's the second little hidden side quest you can do. Because in the record store you'll have this guy who's looking for his which winds up being that he's looking for his dog. Like you wind up finding out that he's looking for his dog, and you can help him find the dog, which is pretty easy because I believe there's a bulletin board in the record store, and on the bulletin board it actually has a thing that pretty much says that there's we found this missing dog. Here's the information. Call us at this number if this is your dog, and like stuff like that. So you can find that out. Go back to the guy. Give him the number, and you'll see him like immediately start like dialing the number, and you can overhear him talking to the person on the phone, and you got the dog and all that stuff. So that's the second little hidden thing. And then from there, you could go back to the DJ booth area, because that's where Steph is. Pretty much knock on the window, get Steph's attention, and then she'll take a break from the DJ thing, play a song and whatnot, and then come out to talk to you. And she's pretty much like, also yet again, if you talk to Ethan or not, the little dialogue here will be different, because Steph asks Alex if she's talked to Ethan or whatnot too. and depending on if you did or didn't, their conversation will be a little different. But all in all, um, Steph is pretty much like, since the LARP plans kind of fell through because of the whole Gabe situation, and obviously Ethan is very upset and whatnot. So Steph has a plan of like, to cheer Ethan up. We're going to, why don't we do the LARP here and stuff? Why don't we set it up here, and you know, you can help out and whatnot. We could do that as a way of cheering Ethan up. So she pretty much shows her like, okay, we need a big bad villain for this, and here's like the two choices type of thing and whatnot, and you could pick one. Um, and then from there, she's like, okay, also before you leave, I have my character book at the front desk. Fill out your character name and your backstory and all your character stuff for the LARP, and then I'll, you know, take care of the rest and whatnot. So after that conversation, Steph goes back into the DJ booth to continue her work, and then you can go to the front desk and fill out the LARP stuff. Which isn't going to come into play in this episode. It's going to come into play in episode 3, chapter 3, whatever. It's going to come into play in the next one. So after that, then you can do what you, the main part that's going to progress the game, and is go to the flower shop to see if Mac is there, because Mac also helps out at the flower shop, because obviously Riley is there with her grandmother and all that stuff. So at the flower shop, Riley isn't there, Mac isn't there, Eleanor is there. So you end up asking her, you know, hey, where have you seen Mac? Where is he and whatnot? She kind of doesn't know where Mac is and whatnot. And as you're talking to her, you find like she's acting kind of weird, because she's acting very like happy and jovial, and it's like, does she not know that Gabe got killed? Gabe is dead? Like, what's going on? So so she ends up kind of so you end up like, okay, that's kind of weird, and you go to leave, and as you go to leave, Eleanor starts being like, okay, so where's, and like she's forgotten something, and she starts getting really really upset. So Alex notices before she leaves, and she's like, okay, so she stops from leaving, and you go to see what's up with Eleanor, and you find out that you know, she's trying to figure out, like, there's this order or whatnot that she was trying to fill, but she kind of forgot like what it was and everything. So you could kind of help her figure that out, and then you go, because you go into this into your like your supernatural emotion, like vision and stuff that you're seeing. So for this one, it pretty much what you did with Steph starts happening again here, but with Eleanor. And with this one, instead of sadness, I believe this one is more I think it's fear, because I think the aura was like purple or something, and I believe purple is more like scared fear. Um, so things in the flower shop starts getting like a little scrambled and reversed and whatnot. Like things are like jumbled. So pretty much, with Eleanor, you have to help her retrace her steps that she took when she got to the flower shop. So once you figure that out, right? Once you go through the flower shop and piece together what she did through in the days to help her remember what's happening, you what happened and the order and stuff, it come to find out that she um, that it was an order from Jed about flowers for Gabe's wake. So Eleanor's like, I don't know why, Jed would want these and whatnot, and it's at this point that Alex is like, wait, she generally had no idea that Gabe died. So it's at this point you can tell her the truth or not, because it's at this point it becomes obvious that Eleanor is suffering from some like memory issues. Um, I don't know if they specifically say if Eleanor's like suffering from like maybe Alzheimer's or dementia or something like that. But she has like a memory issue that if you're also observant looking around the flower shop, you could also figure out that she's been seeing doctors and stuff about it, but she's also been hiding it from Riley because she doesn't want Riley to worry, and she doesn't want because she's afraid that if Riley knows what's going on with her, then Riley won't pursue her dreams and go off to college and all that stuff. So that's why Eleanor is not uh, like doesn't want Riley to know, and she's hiding her the memory issues and stuff that she's having. Uh, so for us, I usually be honest with Eleanor, like even though it's very painful that you're reminding her of this and kind of telling her, but it's like, bruh, it's better to come from Alex than coming from somebody else. So we end up pretty much telling her like, yeah, those flowers were for Gabe's wake. And then Eleanor is initially confused and she's like, wait, Gabe's wake? And then I really like the expressions on Eleanor's face because you see in real time the realization that because of her memory problems, she forgot that Gabe died to the point where she didn't even remember that there was a wake or anything going on. Hence why she wasn't there. She wasn't at the wake. So Eleanor starts getting extremely upset because she's like, I missed the wake and everything, and she's like deeply apologizing to Alex. She's starting to like cry and get upset, and then she's like, "Excuse me," and runs off to the like to the back room and kind of like locks herself in the back room to cry and let out all the emotions and shit. So it's at that point you pretty much now you pretty much leave. Uh, so you still haven't found Mac yet. Um, so you could also find Riley sitting sitting on a bench in between in this little alleyway in between two buildings. She's pretty much sitting there, kind of like moping to herself. Um, so it's at this point you could talk to her. Pretty much she's like, you're like, hey Alex, how you doing? You're pretty much asking her how she's doing. You're kind of going back and forth a little bit, and through your through your conversation with her, she'll mention Mac, and that Mac has been kind of like acting weird and whatnot and stuff like that. Well, she'll mention Mac, and then it's like, oh, okay. And then you can kind of peer into her emotion a little bit because of mentioning Mac, and kind of see what she means by that. And then you come to find out that Mac was trying to tell her that we should leave, we should get out of town and stuff. So now Alex is like, why would she do that? I mean, why would he want to do that? And then you can kind of talk to Riley about it, and then Riley pretty much tells you like, yeah, this I believe it was I think she says it was this morning or whatnot, like kind of before the wake and whatnot, that Mac came to her and was pretty much telling her that we need to like run away and stuff together and like stuff like that. And Riley found it like weird, and he wouldn't tell her like specifically like why do they have to do this and stuff like that. So you get that information from Riley. You also pretty much tell her that uh, you're trying to figure out what happened to Gabe, because what happened to Gabe is pretty suspicious and whatnot. So we're trying to see um, if there's any more to what happened. So after because you need this information about Mac from Riley to be able to progress, because once you find Mac, you're gonna need that information from Riley to kind of pressure Mac into getting some information, the information you need from him. So it's at this point that obviously you have to keep looking for Mac, but it's at this point that uh, Mac will finally appear in town. Because you could go to exactly where Mac is supposed to be, like earlier in the game, and he won't be there. So he only spawns in once you've I believe once you've done the Eleanor stuff at the flower shop, that's when he spawns in, I believe. But even if he spawns in and you go to him and talk to him, you're not going to be able to get a lot of information out of him unless you talk to Riley and find out what she knows first. So either way, once you find that out, you can finally go to him, and you'll find that Mac is next to, he's by the bridge at the entrance of town, past that you have the bridge that you came in on, that you came into town at the beginning of the game. He's pretty much where that, like right where that bridge. So he's pretty much standing there at the bridge there. So you go there, and then you talk to him. You pretty much are like you're pretty much telling him like I know you know something. Like it's pretty obvious you know something, and you need to tell me like what it is and whatnot, and maybe we could help and figure it out. And then you could use, and obviously he doesn't want to tell you anything, but as at this point you could bring up what Riley knows, like what Riley told you, to kind of push his emotions a little bit to try to get him to tell you some stuff. But at this point, all it really does is kind of uh, get his emotions riled up. It kind of upsets you. You know, the emotions kind of affect Alex a little bit, and then he uses that opportunity to kind of run off. So now you have to kind of like chase him. You gotta chase him down and you know get continue to try to get the information out of him. So you go to chase him down, but his emotions when he ran off affected Alex enough that she starts to feel the emotions that Mac is feeling, which is pretty much Mac feeling paranoid because the world, because when her when she's affected by these emotions, really strong emotions, the environment kind of changes and like affects her psyche. So just like Eleanor and Steph earlier, Mac's emotions here kind of have their own little sequence, which turns into all of the citizens, the regular people that are just uh, sitting on the streets, standing on the streets, talking to each other or whatnot on the streets, like as you've been walking around. Those people start to just stare at Alex, like they just start staring at her, and then cars and stuff that are driving down the street, you'll see that the drivers are looking at Alex. They're not even paying attention to what they're driving. And then you'll see like there's some cameras around, and then those cameras start turning and just focusing on Alex and following her. So the extreme paranoia and stuff starts like that's what she's feeling, and she's like, why is Mac feeling like this so much? It's kind of crazy. And then as you're walking down down the street and whatnot, you come to find Mac is kind of huddled up in this little corner, kind of by the river, and you find him there, and you're like, okay, Mac, like Mac, I get it. You you know something about Typhon, and Typhon is trying. They're trying to. What's going on with you has something to do with Typhon and whatnot and stuff like that. So pretty much uh he starts to kind of let Alex know that okay, I did get Gabe's phone call. Gabe's phone call got through. I talked to him, and I told him that we were going to delay, that we were gonna stop the blast and delay it and whatnot. And then um, I went to my superiors to let them know, and they told me to not mention that you got a phone call, whatnot, and they're pretty much threatening me and and pressuring me to deny that there was ever a phone call, that anything ever happened, and that there was no phone call existed and whatnot. It was an accident. Don't worry about it. And obviously, uh, Mac pretty much wants to. Pretty much why he wanted to run away with Riley is because he doesn't want to be, you know, like Typhon watching him, like constantly watching him and stuff to make sure that he's not like that he's following orders and all that stuff. Uh, and then Max starts having like a panic attack after he's telling you all this because everybody's suspicious of me. Everyone thinks that I may have something to do with killing him, and killing Gabe and whatnot. Like even Riley thinks I may have something to do with this, all this stuff. So he starts having a panic attack, and then at this point you can help him with his panic attack or whatnot and calm him down. At this point, which is pretty, which is or you cannot, or you could be the dick and just be like, hey, have your panic attack, fuck you, guy. But you know, like is Mac a asshole? Yes. Is he an extremely jealous, paranoid asshole? Yet, yes, he is. One thing he clearly isn't is a murderer. So, because it's very obvious that him and Gabe may have had their differences, but he never wanted like Gabe to get killed or anything like that. Because he's extremely upset and everything about this whole situation. So he so for me, I pretty much help him calm him down from his panic attack and stuff and whatnot. So it's at this point that once you calm him down, Alex pretty much tells him, hey, I'm gonna find out what's going on. Just relax, lay low, and if I need anything, if we need anything, I'll let you know and whatnot. If I find out anything big or whatnot, I'll let you know. And Matt's like, all right. So he calms down and he's good. Um, and it's at this point, cause also the whole paranoid part with his when you're walking down the street and all the people are staring at you. There's also a really dark part when you get to the little alleyway where that leads to the little corner that you find Mac in. There's a shadow on the wall of the building, and it's pretty much Mac being hung. Like you see his hanging body by a noose, like as a shadow on the side of a building, which is really dark and messed up. But in any case, you calm him down. Everything goes back to normal. Like Alex's world gets back to normal and whatnot. So it's at this point that Alex receives a phone call from Ryan. Uh, to pretty much like come see him and whatnot. Which this also gets kind of dark. Excuse me, because you wind up going to meet up with Ryan because he wants you to meet up with him, and it turns out that he's at the cliff area where Gabe was killed at, and he's pretty much like looking down over the cliff and whatnot, and he's obviously very upset and distraught. Uh, he pretty much is like apologizing to Alex and whatnot and all that stuff. And he's pretty much and you pretty much tell him that like I think you might be right that there's something more to what happened to Gabe than an accident. Cause I talked to Mac and Mac told me that he got the phone call and talked to Gabe, but when he told Typhon about it, they told him to shut up and pretend that there was never a phone call and whatnot, and this and that. So so initially Ryan's like, really? But then he starts being like, if even if that's the case, it doesn't matter. I I still was kind of responsible for Gabe dying and all that stuff. And it's at this point you go up to him, you kind of put your hand on his shoulder, which kind of makes the connect to his emotions. So starts affecting Alex, and then the world for Alex starts getting all dark, and then the cliff and everything that they're standing on kind of surrounding it kind of crumples away, except for the little section that they're both standing on. So it's kind of like they're standing on this piece of this piece of land that's just floating in this big dark void, and that's kind of like what is being visualized here. And then so pretty much you're trying to talk to Ryan and tell him that like, A, it wasn't your fault. It you did what you had to do. If you didn't do what you did, we all would have died, and not just Gabe and like stuff like that. Because as you're talking to him, he's kind of like almost taking a step like off the cliff. So he's pretty much like at the point where he's kind of suicidal at this point. So you're trying to almost talk him off the ledge, pretty much. But yeah, but in any case, you calm him down. And he kind of ends up like kind of falling to his knees, like crying and whatnot, and then you're like kind of like holding him and consoling him, like as he's just letting out all these emotions that he's clearly been bottling up and not expressing. Which obviously this little scene, the potential like suicidal um part here is clearly a little nod to the Kate suicidal thing um in ironically the second episode of the original Life is Strange. except this except this one here is not as involved and nerve-wracking as in the original game. Because in the original game there was a lot more like back and forth, and you would have to get a lot of things right to convince Kate not to kill herself. So there was like way more margins of error going on there that you could have in relation to this, because I believe there's no real situation here where Ryan actually does that there is a possibility that Ryan could like walk off the cliff and kill himself. So it's only a little of a nod. Like it's not a big in depth as the original game did with a situation like that. But in any case, after he finishes crying, it cuts to both Alex and Ryan kind of sitting. Well, not sitting. They're kind of like laying in a little grassy area, and they're pretty much like looking up at the sky and whatnot. And Ryan is pretty much, telling Alex stories about Gabe and whatnot, and like little outings and stuff that him and Gabe been on, and little situations that they were in and whatnot, like little funny stories. And so so as you're doing that, you tell you start telling at this point you tell Ryan about your power situation. And Ryan obviously is like, really, obviously he's skeptical and whatnot. So she's like, okay, I'm gonna prove it. Alex tells Ryan to think of a like some emotion, like a memory and whatnot, and I'm going to use my powers to feel it and pretty much tell you. I'm gonna pretty much tell you what you're feeling, what you're like specifically what you're feeling, like what memory and stuff that you're reminiscing about and stuff like that. So he's like, okay, he closes his eyes and he thinks of a memory, and then Alex will read it, and then she'll piece it, like kind of like piece it together, kind of like what you did with specifically the Steph part earlier in the episode. Uh, cause this one also, depending on which scenes, uh, sections that you focus on to remember, you could actually put them like in sequence or see them out of order and stuff like that. So it's more similar to the Steph one at the beginning. But either way, you pretty much, you know, piece together that memory. You tell Ryan, and Ryan's like, okay. So, so Ryan kind of believes you. At this point, Ryan believes you after the little test that you told him that you're gonna show him, and then um, also during this conversation, Ryan can kind of ask you like how many people know about your powers. And at this point, it could either be nobody, or it could be Gabe was the only other person, depending on if you told Gabe about your powers in the first episode. You know, then Gabe would obviously knew and stuff like that. So it's at this point that Ryan offers to help you find out what's going on, what really went on with with Gabe's death and all that stuff, uh, and look into what Mac told you, told Alex, and all that stuff. Uh, so so now you got Ryan on your team of investigators. Cause you got Steph on your team earlier, and then now you have Ryan. So now you got uh, this little trio here that are going to see if they could find out what happened, what really happened with Gabe's situation and stuff. So it's at this point the episode segues into the final little scene of the episode, which is everybody gathered together. Everybody gathering together uh, at the little bridge area. Pretty much all the major NPCs and stuff. Um, also, uh, so everyone gathers at the bridge. All the major side characters. So you got Ducky there, you got Jed there, you got Steph, Charlotte, Ryan, Alex, Ethan. Ethan's there now. Riley, Mac, Eleanor, right? Yeah. Well, Eleanor's there. I believe Eleanor's there. If you actually told her um Gabe being dead, um, and also Diane is actually there because also earlier when you go to the dispensary to uh, to to see Charlotte, when you go inside, Diane is walking out. So you see Diane, and Diane pretty much just gives her like stereotypical condolences to Alex and stuff. So obviously it's Diane that was delivering the offer to Charlotte and stuff like that. Because remember, Diane's job is pretty much overseeing the Haven Springs Typhon mining stuff. So she's pretty much the one that's in charge of this area for Typhon. So so she so she's also there. What ends up happening is Ryan and Alex, and they light a little lantern that they're going to send off into the sky so it could like float and stuff. Pretty much doing the same thing that Sean Daniel and their mom Karen did in the final episode of Life is Strange 2 when they were at the Grand Canyon area and all three of them kind of lit some lanterns and they floated off into the sky. It's the same thing here, except it's only one lantern because it's only one lantern to represent Gabe, pretty much like you know, Gabe going off to the afterlife and stuff, pretty much. So they light up the lantern. It goes to fly, you know, to float away. Everyone is, you know, looking at the lantern as it flies around, as it drifts away, and they all pretty much have yellow happy auras around them, which Alex kind of feels, and she's, you know, feeling joyful because, you know, she's feeling all the like happy memories that everyone is feeling, you know, right now, right? Except when she looks over at Diane, Diane is not doesn't have a yellow happy aura around her. She has a uh, a purple aura. So her aura is like, obviously she's scared of something. And obviously Alex is like, what is she afraid of? And that's pretty much where the episode ends. So episode 2 ends like that, which kind of makes sense because the episode began with a wake, so it only makes sense for the episode to end in a in kind of a pseudo uh like um funeral way. So because that's pretty much like the like what the lantern thing and all that like represents. So it's kind of a pseudo funeral thing. But yeah, it ends that way. So you know, so for me, this episode uh, was good, mainly because, you know, it's the first episode where you could freely explore Haven more. You can pretty much like go into like all the buildings you can go into and like explore, like actually explore them and whatnot. It's the first time that you're able to go into the Charlotte's dispensary, because in the last episode you were only in front of it, like you didn't actually get to go inside. So you actually are able to, you know, get a more full idea of how big the town is, all the different things that you could see in the town, and interacting with the different people and all that stuff. Uh, the little mystery and whatnot of what's going on with Typhon, what they're hiding, like what the deal is with that. So so with that, uh, this is the correct one. I believe so. Yeah, I believe this is episode 2, chapter 2 is Lanterns, I believe. So, alright. So, I would give. I would keep chapter 2 in the A tier. It's pretty much uh it's pretty much a solid episode because now you're because in this episode you're using your powers a lot more, and I really like how they use Alex's powers to represent how they visually represent like uh the emotions and stuff that she's feeling with the different people and whatnot. So they really do that a lot with Steph's part, Eleanor's part, Mac's part and Ryan's part at the towards the end. So they really show off a lot of that, uh, which is fun. So yeah, very solid episode. Also the uh, getting more of a dynamic between Alex, Steph, and Ryan is also good because primarily for this game, the three real big central characters of the game is Alex, Steph, and Ryan. So so you know, getting more development and stuff with the three of them is really good. So it definitely helps with all of those. With the development and interactions and the dynamics and stuff between all three of them. All right, so that's that. Um, uh, and I'll be hold on. I'll be right back for a minute, and then we'll move on to episode 3 of True Colors. Okay. Ah. All right. Okay. So we got. So now we got episode 3 or chapter 3 of True Colors, uh, which I believe is called Monster or Mortal. So, um, also between these episodes, there are little time jumps because at the beginning of each episode you can look into Alex's text messages and stuff, and you can see the dates and times of the text messages. So you can see like a lot of text messages and things between different characters and stuff that take place between each episode. So some episodes between each of them may have like weeks or a couple of months that pass between them. So in any case, so excuse me. So chapter 3 begins with Steph, Ryan, and Alex at the bar. Because at this point, Alex pretty much took over Gabe's job at the bar. So Alex is working at the bar now. So they're all talking. They're all talking at the main bar. So Ryan and Steph are sitting in the front of the bar, and Alex is behind it and whatnot. So so um, so right at the beginning, you see Steph, Ryan, and Alex pretty much looking at each other, and then they're kind of like just looking at each other and stuff. And then it's at that point Steph says to Alex, "So you have superpowers." So now pretty much Alex is telling Steph about it, and obviously Ryan's there because Ryan already knows. So he's pretty much like confirming what's going. That like she has powers. She gave me a demonstration and like stuff like that. So Steph is like no way. You both have got to be like fucking with me, right? Um um so Ryan's really funny because he's like, "Oh, you're feeling like disbelief and stuff, right?" so um so pretty much Steph is like, "Okay, tell me, so Alex, what am I feeling right now? Like really feeling?" So, so Alex was pretty much like, "All right." So she takes a minute. She uh, looks into Steph and pretty much tells Steph like deep emotion that's on the inside that she's feeling. Which hits Steph pretty hard. So Steph's like, "Okay, so you really do have fucking superpowers." And then Steph also quickly puts two and two together, and it's like, "Oh, so that's how you knew. Uh, that's how you knew when I was feeling sad and whatnot. You knew exactly what was going on and what to do and stuff like that." And Alex is pretty much like, "Yeah, that's pretty much how that went." So Steph is like, "Cool. I never really had like a super powered friend before." It's kind of crazy. So they're like, "Okay." Uh, so Ryan's like, "All right, guys. So now since we got that out of the way, let's talk about Diane and how we're going to see what she knows." So so she so so pretty much Alex is like, yeah, Diane like usually comes in uh usually on these days and stuff. So she should be here today later on and whatnot. So Steph and Ryan are like, okay, so since she's gonna be here later, let's come up with a plan on what we're gonna try to do to get her to reveal some information, like something that we can use in figuring out what happened with the Gabe thing, with the Gabe with Gabe. So pretty much Alex is like, okay, I'll get back to work, and in the meantime, you two Steph and Ryan, you two figure out a plan, and uh, I'll check in on you when I'm done, uh, with my shift and whatnot. So it's at this point that go around, do your bar things, like figure out not figure out, but like clean up dishes and whatnot, collect the dishes, all that stuff. So you do that a couple of times, and then finally Diane walks into the bar and stuff. Uh, so obviously Alex, Steph, and Ryan, see her, so they're like, so they each give each other looks and stuff, and they're like, okay. So Alex pretty much is like, all right, Diane, I'll be right over to like get your order and like stuff like that. Just give me a minute. So it's at that point you take the opportunity to go back to Steph and Ryan and figure out what their plan is, like what plan they came up with. I'm laughing because their plan is absolutely stupid and hilarious. So you talk to them, and their plan is it's pretty much, they both came up with the same plan, but there's only one little difference. And their plan is that Steph or Ryan go up to Diane and uh, flirt with her into like going out on a date or whatnot with them. So the main difference of the plan is whether Steph is gonna do it or Ryan's gonna do it. And then while Steph or Ryan are like trying to hook up with Diane as a distraction, um, Alex can get whatever she needs that Diane might have and stuff like that. So Alex rightfully is like, okay, that's really stupid. That's a dumb plan. But Steph and Ryan are pretty much like, hey, that's all we got. The only thing you need to do, is pick who the best distraction is gonna be. So it's at this point that you do have to pick either Ryan or Steph to do the distracting, which is also a hidden relationship mechanic. because it's at this point that Alex's romance options for this game is pretty much Steph or Ryan. And this first distraction choice is your first real choice that's going to lean Alex into a relationship with either one or the other. So, usually I go with Steph as the distraction because Steph's distraction is it's pretty funny. So that's why I usually go with it. Also mainly because I usually go with Steph as the relationship option because for one, especially coming off of Steph's scenes and interactions in Before the Storm, I already have a investment in Steph already from the previous game, from Before the Storm. So I have already more investment in Steph to begin with anyway. And Steph is a more like Ryan isn't bad, but Steph is a way there's way more things to be interested in with Steph uh, than Ryan. I will say though, Ryan is definitely of the male romance options in these games. Ryan is by far the best one. He is the best male romance option in these games. I will say that flat out. But there's also a issue with Ryan that comes up towards the end of the game that does put a damper on any potential relationship anyway. So there's also that. I didn't know that when I first played the game originally anyway. Because I was going to go with Steph anyway, because when the game got revealed and it was revealed that Steph was going to be in the game anyway, and then once it was also announced that Steph was going to be a romance option in the game anyway, I was already set on Steph being the option I was going to go for anyway, so... So Ryan already had no chance from the beginning. But as I said, I was glad that he was a fun enough character. Uh, so at least he wasn't bad. So so at this point you pretty much tell Ryan. So for us, we pick Steph as a distraction, but in the meantime, Alex is like, okay, but let me go and talk to Diane, and if I need the distraction, I'll let you know. So now we go to Diane. We talk a little bit to her. Try to get her emotions like riled up a little bit. We can either go with getting Diane either really sad or really mad. Usually I go with getting her sad because getting her mad kind of Alex more uh, makes Alex come off more like an asshole. So so I usually go with the ooh, excuse me, with the sad option because it's more of a reasonable uh because what you use to get her sad is more reasonable than kind of pushing her buttons and just getting her pissed off. Uh, so once you get her sufficiently sad enough, uh, either sad or mad, whatever. But once you get her emotions significantly um, pushed up, you find that Diane has a USB stick with incriminating evidence of what Typhon is hiding, and uh, and the Gabe and information on the Gabe situation that Diane is keeping copies of just in case Typhon tries to fuck with her. So she's keeping some information as insurance to make sure Typhon doesn't come after her. So so you're like, oh shit, there's information on that USB stick. What could be on it? So now you're like, okay, I'm gonna need that distraction because I'm gonna need to get that USB stick from her, and we need to find out what's on it. So 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 Alex ends up texting Steph under the table. Obviously, so Diane doesn't see. Which Diane mostly is distracted, not fully distracted, but distracted enough that she's not entirely paying attention to what you're doing. Because Diane is she's on her laptop doing whatever paperwork or something that she's doing, whatever business she's doing. So she's distracted a little bit. But obviously you can't just swipe the USB stick because she has it, like you could see it on her in her purse, but her purse is sitting like next to her across the table. So if you try to take it, she's gonna see you anyway. So you're still gonna need the distraction to swipe the USB stick anyway. Lucky for you, she doesn't have it connected to the laptop because that would make it way more obvious that that shit was stolen. But but luckily she just has it in the purse, so it's less obvious that she's gonna catch on that it's missing. But in any case, you text Steph, so so since you chose Steph, Steph gets up from the bar, comes over to Diane, uh, starts kind of like flirting with her a little bit, uh, kind of like asks her on a date and whatnot, which Diane is kind of taken aback by and is um, kind of shy and stuff about. So while she's talking to Steph, uh, while Alex is kind of laughing at the situation, does take the opportunity to swipe the USB stick. So she takes the USB stick. Steph notices that she got what she wanted. So Steph pretty much tells Diane, like, look, you don't have to give me an answer now. You can let me know later. It's like, don't worry about it. Just let me know. So Steph ends up like, walking back to the walk. Seeing herself out. I'm presuming that she went to go back to where with Ryan. So after Steph goes, sees herself out, Alex gets up and is like, all right, Diane, I'll catch you later, pretty much. Which isn't the subtlest thing, because I'm like, guys, you're making yourself way more suspicious for her. Like, you guys are not being extreme, like, the most subtle. But in any case, it then cuts to Steph, Alex, and Ryan uh, going into going into Alex's apartment upstairs. So they go in, they close the door and everything, and then they start pretty much like laughing at the situation of like holy shit, I can't believe that worked and whatnot. We got the USB and whatnot and stuff like that. So from there they end up you know going to Alex's laptop, putting in the USB to see what they can find, and then they try to access what's on the USB, but the USB has a encrypted passcode on it, so they can't get into the USB to find anything. So Ryan has an idea, and he takes the USB and he's like, I'm gonna go to Riley, because Riley, uh, I believe if you were paying attention in the previous episodes, you come to find out that Riley has and she's also trying to go to college for like computers and stuff like that. So she has like a technical background. So she's highly into technology and stuff, right? So Ryan's like, I'm gonna take the USB to Riley and see if Riley can figure out how to get into the uh, how to get past the password and stuff, so we can get into the USB and see what information Diane has on here. So so Ryan's like, okay, that's where we're gonna go, and Steph is like, okay, in the meantime, we also have a LARP to do. So you have to. So Steph pretty much tells Alex, you have to get ready for it, and we're gonna do the LARP, right? Uh, so we're gonna get ready to do the LARP. So Steph and Ryan start to leave, and then pretty much Ryan is telling her it took me a while to get some stuff ready for the LARP and stuff like that. So obviously Ryan is also helping with the LARP. So we'll see him in the LARP later. So they both leave, and then as Alex, you gotta get your LARP costume together, which turns out to be a that you're playing the role of a bard. So she has to get like her little feathered bard hat, and her the guitar that Gabe gave Alex. Got to take that with you, because how are you gonna be a bard with no musical instrument? So so you get all that together. Uh, you leave. You leave and you go. You pretty much have to go to find Ethan, because you're doing the whole LARP thing for him. So you go to Ethan. Uh, he's still kind of a little mopey, but he's gonna do the LARP anyway. So you pretty much, because he pretty much like is appreciating that you're like trying to cheer him up and whatnot, right? So so you go so he pretty much has his little like helmet on and whatnot, and his little sword, which is pretty cute. So he got his little knighting outfit, which is pretty funny. So so at this point, the town itself, kind of is all like dressed up and has some like staging and stuff. Like the whole town is like in on the whole LARPing thing. So a lot of like citizens and everything are kind of like in character and things like that, and are participating in the stuff, which is pretty cute. And you got like Jed acting like the king, pretty much. And he pretty much, you and Ethan go to him, and he sends you on a quest to collect some jewels and whatnot, and bring it to him, so to stop monsters from destroying the land and stuff like that. So from here, you have to go and find these. I believe it's 3 jewels that you have to find. So you got to find 3 of them. And there's little like side stuff going on, cause it's from here that it's like it's really like an RPG thing, cause you could like explore around the town and actually find little like RPG skills and things like that, which is pretty fun. Um, so on your way out, you encounter your first fight. This is a well, a lot of the fights are, well, pretty much all the fights are mandatory, but this is the first mandatory like fight that you have to do. Because a little tidbit is some of the other fights that you do during the other fights that you do during the course of this LARP session have hidden ways that you can bypass the fights altogether, which is pretty fun. Which I'll go through as we go through each one of them. But either way, you end up fighting this wolf, and the wolf is being played by Ryan, because it's pretty much Ryan with like a wolf mask on, which is pretty funny. And he's doing like wolf noises and kind of like acting like a wolf, which is pretty funny. But in any case, you have to fight him, and it's at this point that this LARP session turns into a old school classic like RPG setup. Like it even has like RPG sound effects, little menus and stuff. Whereas like you have like the attack menu, the item menu, the magic spells menu and stuff like that, and you have to choose between them and stuff like that. It's like a love letter to definitely a love letter to classic like RPGs, and especially like classic Final Fantasy vibes. Because even some of the fighting, when you're doing these fights, they have like battle music in the background, and the battle music, if you've played like enough old school RPGs and like old school Final Fantasy, the music is very inspired by like those classic like fight music. So kudos to uh, the team that came up with all that stuff. It's really fun. Um, so you beat the wolf, and then you get like the wolf like drops loot, which I believe is money, a spell. I think it's a spell, and and uh and an item, I believe. Did you get the item from? No, I don't think he gets it from the wolf. I think they get it later. But either way, you beat Ryan, Wolf Ryan, and then you're like, okay, now we need to go find the other jewels. So we have to find the jewels. So the first jewel is in the Black Lantern. So you have to go into the Black Lantern. Uh, the place is kind of set up like a massacre happened. So there's like fake blood everywhere. Uh, Fake like body parts and stuff like around the bar and whatnot. And then you encounter Ducky is like the last survivor of the massacre that happened in the bar, which is kind of exaggerated and whatnot. So you find that, and then uh, you you get this bell, and the bell, is it? Yeah, it's a bell. So you get a bell, and more importantly, you also find inside this little chest inside the Black Lantern. You find the first jewel. So you're like, okay, we found the first jewel. So now we gotta find different the other jewels, because we still got two to find. So the so pretty much you go to get uh, uh, what the bell is gonna be used for, right? So as you're walking around, there's this couple that is acting like one of them was attacked by this like fierce snake or something, right? So you go down where they said they were attacked from, and it turns out this it's this snake, but the snake is yet again Ryan with like a snake head on him. So he's pretty much like acting like a snake, serpent, or whatnot. So you're like, oh, we have like behind him looks like there's a jewel or whatnot behind him. So I think he's guarding one of the stones. So we have to get past them. So it's at this point that he notices you. He goes to attack you, but if you have the bell, then you get a secret option. If you don't have the bell, then you actually have to fight him. But but if you have the bell, you end up using the bell to like put the snake to sleep. So if you put him to sleep, then you bypass the whole fighting part, which comes in handy for later. Avoiding a lot of the fights that you can avoid does pay off towards the end of this LARPing session, because you're gonna need a lot of your items and health and stuff uh, saved up. So you put the snake to sleep. You go to see if he was what he was guarding. It doesn't turn out that he was guarding a jewel, but he is guarding. He was guarding this. I think like a snake scale or something. Um, so you decide to take it with you, right? Um, so also, as you're walking around, there's also certain side quests that you can kind of do during this. Like there's a town folk that you can have a riddle. Like you could take like this riddle test. Uh, and if you find if you figure out the riddle, you win you win some gold. So which does come in handy. The gold you get comes in handy to bypass another fight later. So also there's excuse me. There's a blacksmith guy that needs your help to figure out this recipe, this blacksmith recipe that he's trying to do. Which is funny because the blacksmith guy is actually the guy you helped find his dog. He's the one that's playing the role of the blacksmith, which is kind of funny. So you can figure out the riddle, and not the riddle. You can figure out the recipe, and you could tell him. And I believe you gain like a powerful spell or whatnot from him if you help him out. So yet again, that also helps. There's also like several gold and spells that you could find that are just lying around in different areas of the town. If you like explore and walk around, you could find like a bunch of like extra stuff. So now you can go into the record shop, which Steph has turned into like a magic shop. So she turned the record store into a magic shop, which is kind of funny. And Steph is also dressed up as a witch to go along with the magic shop theme. So you go in, you go talk to witch Steph, and you look at the stuff she has for sale, and it turns out that one of the jewels that you're looking for, she has for sale. But it's on sale for a ridiculous amount of gold. Like it's way more gold than than you're ever gonna earn for this section of the game. So it's like, okay, we need the jewel. What can we do to get the to for you to give us the jewel? So she's like, okay, instead of paying me the gold, I could trade you the jewel if you can find this thing for me. Which the thing she's looking for turns out to be the the scale that you found that the snake was guarding. So if you have that already, then you can immediately just give it to her and get the jewel. If you don't have it, then you have to go to the snake and get it, and then come back. So so either way, you trade the 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 scale to Steph, and she gives you the jewel. Um, Also, as a funny little aside, if you're going down the Steph romance option, if you're going down that route, um, before you go to talk to Steph so you can look at the different items that she has for sale. You can read her emotions, and if you went with her to distract Diane earlier, Steph is feeling conflicted on if Alex really sees her as like, does Alex really see me as like cute or attractive and stuff like that? It was like, did she really mean that? Really mean it that I was that that I was good and cool and all that stuff, and or was she just going along with the plan thing and stuff like that? Like is Steph is like reading into stuff, so you can so you can hear that before examining like the different items that Steph has for sale. And then before she offers the trade, right? I mean, before she reveals the snake scale that she wants to trade the thing. Yet again, you only get this option if you're going down the uh, Steph romance route. Um, Alex, Alex, Alex will Steph, offer Steph, um, Alex's hand in in marriage as a trade for the for the for the jewel, which is really funny because Alex even mentions that and just so you know, I wouldn't be offering this if I didn't mean it. Which is funny because the look on Steph's face when she's like before she says the hand in marriage thing, like Steph looks so dumbfounded, like what, like where is she going with this? And then once she lays out the proposal, Steph is pretty much. It's one of the. I think it's one of the. It's like the only time really that we see Steph pretty like at a loss for words. Like she has like nothing to say. Like she doesn't even know how to respond. which is funny because she even tries to respond, but she's kind of stumbling over her words, which is pretty funny. And then Ethan is also funny because Ethan is Ethan seeing what's happening and hearing what's happening, and he's like, he comments like, "Oh snap! He's like this just got real." So he kind of has his own little funny little quip, and that's when Steph is pretty much like uh like as tempting as the offer is, I can't accept it yet. Uh, but there is something else that you could trade me for the jewel, and that's when she'll bring up the scale thing to trade. So in any case, you trade it, you get the jewel, and then you can leave because there's also depend if you have a bunch of enough gold, you can also buy some like extra spells and stuff that Steph is selling. But there is a special item among them that's also kind of expensive. But if you've done enough of the extra stuff around, like solving the riddles or finding like other gold and stuff around, you can actually buy troll dust, which obviously, as the name suggests, you're gonna encounter a troll at some point. So this can help you with that later. So so it's funny that if you have enough gold, you could buy that, which I would recommend if you're trying to avoid getting into too many fights. So once you do all that, you can leave. And if you did the whole Steph romance stuff, uh, interactions and things, um, you could also read Steph's emotions after the whole getting the jewel, after the whole trade and everything. And her emotions change to, well, in this situation, in the romance situation, it changes from her earlier emotions of fear and whatnot, of wondering if Alex meant this or that, and her reading into situations and stuff. It turns into really happy, happy, joy, joy, and she ends up like, because you're reading her inner thoughts pretty much. So Steph is pretty much like uh, shouting to herself, "I do, I do, I do, I do," because the whole hand proposal of marriage. And it's funny too uh, because Alex response, her inner monologue response, is pretty much like, maybe when Ethan's not around, which obviously suggests some other stuff. But either way, um, so either way, as you're leaving, Ethan leaves first, and then right before, if only yet again, if you're going on the romance with Steph route, as Alex leaves, Alex will actually turn to look at Steph and give her a wink before leaving. And it's funny because they show Steph's reaction, and yet again she's kind of dumbfounded, which is pretty funny. Probably because I don't think Steph is used to. Because Alex is way more. Because with this, Alex is more. Like more confident and stuff. So I don't. So in this situation, I don't think Steph is used to being the one. Is used to being the one being like really flirted at and kind of being the uh and kind of being pursued. Like it's pretty insinuated that usually Steph is the one that's kind of going after someone. So Steph being on the opposite end and having someone pursue her, I don't think Steph is used to that. Hence why Steph is more dumbfounded and doesn't really know how to react to the situation when Alex is when as Alex you're giving her like these signals and these flirty situations and stuff, and Steph is kind of like, I don't know what to do here. So pretty funny. So in any case, you get out of the you get out, you leave the record store or magic shop in this case, the makeshift magic shop. So now you gotta find the last jewel. Also, uh, ooh. Also, you can uh, um, you can actually also visit go to the flower shop and have a little optional interaction with Riley to see how the uh how is she how the update and stuff on how cracking the code of the USB is going. So you could go to the flower shop and pretty much follow up on that situation. So, uh, when you get there, you could pretty much figure out that that the USB code cracking is coming along. It's just taking ooh, excuse me, taking a minute. So it still has a way to go. So, ooh, excuse me. So so in any case, uh, you leave the flower shop because it's just a small little interaction with Riley and just seeing how the USB thing is coming along. So from here you can go to where the last jewel is, which is by the bridge. So you have to go to the bridge because obviously you have to. It's a troll that you're gonna find because you know if you know any if you know any like little fairy tales and fantasy stuff, obviously trolls like to be under bridges and things like that. So obviously, if you want to find a troll, you have to go to the bridge. So you go there, and yet again, the troll is being played by Ryan with a troll mask on, and he also has like a pretty much like a wrestling belt. He has like a wrestling belt on, and on that wrestling belt, uh, is the jewel that you're looking for. So the belt has the jewel in it, which Ethan notices and points out. So you're like, okay, so we need to get that jewel from the troll. We need to find out a way to get the jewel from him. So it turns out, so you could either, there's three specific ways you can get past this. Either you fight him and beat him, so you could do that. Or if you have enough money still, you could just pay him because he's a troll. So to cross the bridge, you have to pay the toll and all that stuff. You know, the classic fantasy stories and things like that. So if you have enough money, you could pay him. Or if you have the troll dust, you could spray him with troll dust. And when a troll is sprayed with troll dust, they become they pretty much become nicer. They become nice and stuff like that. So usually I spray him with the troll dust, which is the more funnier option, because the troll dust just turns out to be like glitter. So you pretty much like spray him with glitter, and then you get the glitter all over him, and he's kind of like, oh man, he got all the glitter on me. Like, he almost like breaks character a couple of times, which is kind of funny. But in any case, he becomes nicer and whatnot. So he's like, hey, you could do. It was like, hey, you need anything and whatnot and stuff. So you can get a couple of stuff out of him. You could get this. You could get a powerful spell from him, which I recommend. Obviously you get. Because either way, you're gonna get the jewel from him anyway. It's just that you could get like some additional stuff from him if you're using the troll dust method. So you get the jewel, you get the powerful spell. So then from there, all you have to do is return to King Jed with the 3 jewels. So now you have to go back to the park. And once you get to the park, you encounter Charlotte. And Charlotte presents Ethan with a sword, which you also got hinted at earlier, because Ryan was the one that carved the sword for Ethan, which is really nice and sweet. And also, the 3 jewels can fit inside the sword. So Ethan ends up taking the sword and putting the 3 jewels in it. And once that happens, Ethan is overcome with with a lot of joyful emotion, which obviously affects Alex. And how it affects Alex this time is it turns the world into a lot more of like fantasy setting. So pretty much Ethan's outfit becomes like an actual like suit of armor, and then Alex's bard outfit turns into a full bard's outfit, like a full bard's outfit, which is pretty cool. Alex starts. Alex kind of like sings a little bit of like a chime to celebrate like Ethan getting the sword and all that stuff. And then from there, darkness comes in to like cover the area. Evil laughter, and then rising up from the ground comes King Jed, who turns out to be like the evil, like an evil sorcerer or whatnot. Specifically, Jed uh is a is whatever villain that you picked earlier that Steph had you pick, like which villain you want to go with for the LARP thing. That's who Jed becomes to play in this situation. So whichever villain he becomes, that you chose. That's the one he becomes. Uh, so he ends up being like the big boss that you have to fight. And this is where like all the spells that you probably were collecting or getting throughout here, and any health or whatnot that you're missing or whatnot from the different fights and things that you may have gotten into. This is where it leads up to. So uh, if you've been able to avoid getting into a lot of fights, then you will have a lot more resources and stuff to get through this boss fight here. And also a fun little tidbit of the boss fight for this is that now the fight menu and everything, has become full classic like RPG mode. Like the music is full classic RPG style. The sound effects for the menus themselves is fully like RPG design, which is really cool because in the earlier fights, the menu and everything will be kind of like a cheaply version of that. But now with the full like with Ethan's like full emotions and whatnot on display, now it becomes like a full genuine RPG style, which is really fun and really cool. So depending on what happens, you could beat Jed here or not. Um, Usually I beat him because you kind of have to try very hard to lose a lot of this stuff. So usually you're most likely gonna win. So so you um so you end up winning, and then Ethan is like happy and whatnot. You got through everything, but then Ethan kind of gets knocked back into depression mode because you end up hearing the blast sirens being uh, rung again. So Ethan hears that and he gets knocked back into his depression mode. So that's kind of upsetting. Uh, so obviously Ethan kind of shuts down again. So from there, you find out later that Ethan gets that because of what's happened, Charlotte Charlotte pretty much feels the best thing to do for Ethan is for him to go stay with his father for a while. So after this point, Ethan is pretty much like gone for the rest of the game because she sends him to go stay with his father for a while. So, so yeah. Uh, so from here also you end up going to check on Charlotte, and Charlotte is in the back room of the dispensary of her dispensary, weed dispensary, that she turned into a art studio where she's currently doing some sculpting. So she's sculpting a thing. Um, and she so you see her, she's like really upset and whatnot. Especially now, since it's like we've gone through the trouble of trying to cheer Ethan up, and then Typhon in a way kind of fucked that up too. So she so now you have to try to read into like Charlotte's emotions here, which when you do it, it doesn't really have the biggest transformation thing that happens, but in the environment for Alex, but it turns into ooh, excuse me. It turns into the studio kind of turns like dark, and then there's like certain like creepy, depressing art pieces that Charlotte has done. Meanwhile, Charlotte in the middle of the room is chiseling away at this stone that she's trying to like chisel into like a statue, right? So she's chiseling away at it mindlessly, so you can't really like interact with her at this point. So you have to like examine the different creepy like art pieces that are around the area. Some of these art pieces are kind of hard to describe. Like, it's not like they're all statues. Some of them are like little doll things. Some of them are like pretty like abstract like stuff. It's very creepy and weird. It's hard to describe. But there's like I think there's like 4 of them that you have to interact with. And then every time you not there. Every time you interact with one of them, when you're done with it, when you're done with one of them, like a piece of the statue that she's chipping away at falls to reveal like pieces of the overall statue that she's making. Which once you do all 4, it turns out to be a statue of of Ryan, Alex, Gabe, and Ethan. I believe all of them are like in this statue. And you come out of the thing back into like reality pretty much. And it turns out that Charlotte Charlotte is like blaming Ethan for what happened because it is kind of Ethan's fault, because it's like if Ethan would have just listened and not gone to the mine, then the whole situation wouldn't have happened and all that stuff. So Charlotte's like internally she blames Ethan, but she's not like, obviously she's not gonna like blatantly tell him this and whatnot, because it's like, hence why she feels so bad, because it's like, you know, that's my son. Like, yeah, like he made a mistake, a very bad mistake that had dire consequences and stuff like that. But you know, it's it's a pretty complicated emotional like situation. So at this point, you can Alex can choose to either leave, or she can she says she can take away like Charlotte's emotion, like her like specifically like take away like her anger, which I believe is what's supposed to happen, which she thinks is supposed to happen. But if you do take away her emotion, it kind of has certain consequences later, which is not entirely good and kind of didn't play out the way you thought it was going to. Cuz you think you're taking away just the anger, but it turns out you take away like a lot more than that, and it kind of leads to some a little bit of some messed up stuff later. But for me, usually I don't take away her emotions. I don't take away the emotion. I usually like leave. But luckily, when you're leaving, you can like give Charlotte some more like encouraging words and stuff. So it's not like you just up and leave and not say anything. Like you could actually like try to leave some words of wisdom and stuff before like as you're leaving. So you're not leaving entirely like with your hands in the air and being like, ah, fuck this and leave. Like you're like it's a not nicer than it initially like is kind of presented as. So there's that. So you do that, and then uh and then after that you end up going back to your apartment, right? And as you're going upstairs, you hear Steph and Ryan are already in the apartment, just talking to each other, shooting this shit, right? Uh, so you get there and you're like, oh, okay, you're uh, is that before? before, or I'm trying to remember a certain consequence of if it happens before or after. But um, either way, you you go um, you go to them. You go to sit with them and stuff. And Steph, I believe Steph acts as Alex. How's Charlotte and whatnot? Like, how is she doing? And depending on what you did, depends on the answer that you give Steph and whatnot. But either way, Steph and Ryan pretty much tell you that we got the USB and we found some stuff on the USB. And one of the important things that we found on the USB is a recording of Gabe's phone call. So they did get the call, and they have evidence that the call did happen. Um, and pretty much, Alex is like, yeah, we should hear it. Like I should sit down and listen to it, shouldn't I? So so you sit down to listen to it, and obviously, excuse me. And obviously, Mac is the one that answered the phone. So Mac and Gabe are talking. Like, obviously, Mac is being like a little jealous shit. But Gabe is like, yeah, 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 whatever. We got more important shit to do. And he pretty much, tells him the Ethan situation and whatnot. Mac is like, oh shit. And he's like, okay, okay, I'm gonna tell him to delay the blast and all that stuff, to cancel it and stuff like that. And Gabe's like, is like, all right, man, thank you and whatnot. And Mac is like, whatever, just doing my job. So there we go. We have like actual evidence that the phone call was made, and obviously they completely ignored it and whatnot. Um, so it's at this point that, depending on if you stole, if you took Charlotte's anger here, it's at this point that the effects of stealing Charlotte's anger comes into play, because you'll end up grabbing the foosball trophy, the foosball liquor bottle trophy, because it's sitting on the table. Because when you walk in, Steph is actually like holding it, like she's holding the bottle. So as you're listening to the recording, Steph put the bottle like on the table, like next to where the laptop is, on the, I believe, the left side of the laptop. So on this side. Uh, so so if you stole the anger, Alex will grab the bottle and throw it at the wall and like break it, which will get Steph really like pissed off, and will lead to kind of like a little like argument between Steph and Alex. And Steph will at that point be really, obviously really upset, and end up leaving. So she ends up leaving for the rest of the the investigation segment here. Because in this segment, you're finding out like the complete answers on what's going on. So so but if you didn't steal Charlotte's anger, instead Alex uh, will just say that we're gonna take these fuckers down, and Steph will stay. Like obviously, he won't have a confrontation with Steph, and Steph will stay for the rest of the investigation, and obviously comment on um, as you find out information as you're piecing everything together. So so that's the route I usually go because I'm like, hey, we've been together in this so far, so we should see everything through together, type of thing. So so it's at this point you're like, okay, so we got the recording, but we still need to figure out why they chose to ignore Gabe's call, like why they chose to ignore all of that. So you go through the all the evidence that Diane put on the USB. You go through the rest of the evidence, and you come to find out that is there was a government inspection that was coming up, and there was that they were gonna come to investigate the old abandoned mine, and what they were what Typhon was doing was when they were doing the scheduled blasting, they were doing a separate blasting around the abandoned mine at the same time. So they couldn't delay the blast because they needed both of those explosions to happen at the same time to cover up the extra explosion that's at the abandoned mine. Because at the abandoned mine, they were trying to cover up something for the investigation. So that's why they chose to not heed Mac's warning and cover up Gabe's phone call and all that stuff, is because they couldn't afford to delay anything because they needed to cover up something before the government inspection happened. So now you find out why, but you don't know specifically what they're trying to cover up. But you know that the reason why they ignored Gabe's phone call is because they needed to cover up something. So the evidence that's on the USB doesn't specifically say what exactly they're covering up, but it does show that there is a cover up of something happening. So with that revelation, the episode kind of awkwardly ends with that revelation. So yeah, like I will say that the end of this episode kind of has a very awkward like ending, because it kind of just ends with Steph, Alex, and Ryan's like reaction, and then it kind of just zooms out. Like it kind of has like an aerial shot, like above all of three of them, like around the laptop, and then uh, it just kind of like the camera just kind of like pans up above them, and then it kind of just like fades out, and like excuse me, all three of them are like silent for like a couple of minutes while this is happening, so it's kind of like awkward. I think it's supposed to like be silent to kind of emphasize the like to have like all the revelations kind of sink in, but it's not like there's any music or anything playing in the background, like there's nothing going on. It's like just like silent, so it's kind of awkward. But yeah, in any case, in any case, that's the end of that of chapter 3, Monster or Mortal. And with that, I will give. For me, episode 3 is. For me, it's like the best episode. Um, it's pretty much like my favorite episode out of my favorite chapter out of all of True Colors, mainly because of the most importantly the whole LARP section of the game. The whole LARP section of the chapter was like I really enjoyed it. Like I really like classic like RPGs and stuff like that. So the whole LARP section and then the fighting being done in like classic like RPG style with the music and the environment and the like UI and all that stuff. It was really fun. So that's mainly why, like, the number one reason why I loved it is because a majority of the chapter is like that, and it's really fun. Um, and the romantic, if you're going down the romance routes, the romantic scenes are also really funny. Like obviously the Steph ones that I described, but there's also really fun, some funny, flirty moments, even with Ryan that you could do in this episode, in this chapter, that are also pretty funny. So, I really like how the romance options here are played pretty sincerely, and also they have like a lot of they have fun with them too. So I really enjoy it. I really do. So that's why for me this is also around the around here. It's also in the for me it's also like in the S tier. I will put it in the lower. It is in the lower part of this tier. Like even though obviously like Farewell is way shorter than this, but the emotional impact and everything that Deck 9 fit in that tiny episode really hits like a lot. So so that's why I still put this little episode above episode 3, because emotionally, chapter 3 of True Colors does have its moments. The only real big like emotional moment, like by emotional I mean like the pulling at the heartstrings like type of thing. The main thing that episode really got was the Charlotte part at the end, towards the end. That part is like really where all like they concentrate all like the big like emotional beats, like they pack it into that part. Uh, which, as I said, how they represent the visually represented all that was really good. Like even the music and stuff in the background, the creepy music, background music and ambiance and everything that they had for that was really good. Um, but then again, episode 2, the Lanterns episode with the aftermath of Gabe's death and all that stuff, that was where they concentrated. Like that whole episode was mostly on like all the emotional beats and like heavy emotion stuff. So so that's probably why in episode 3 they primarily focused on being more upbeat and fun, as a way to contrast the second episode, which was more uh, sad and kind of overcoming the sadness and bringing everybody back up again. So yeah, and obviously not the 100% revelations of what's going on, but getting like a majority of the revelations and stuff at the end here also kind of brings it up a little bit, because this is supposed to be like the big like reveal thing, which is kind of reminiscent of episode of the original episode 4 here, Dark Room, like with when Chloe and Max are piecing everything together in Chloe's room and everything on the board and all that stuff, and they're piecing all that stuff together. That's pretty much uh, what the whole like piecing everything together from the USB on the laptop thing. That's what all that's supposed to be like a parallel to. Except, as I said, here we don't have 100% the entire motivations and the entire reason. We have a motive, but we don't have the reason yet, like the full reason. As opposed to Dark Room in the original Life is Strange, where that entire episode, which by the end of that episode we know the entire motivation and reasoning as to what happened, as far as like what happened to Rachel and all that stuff went on. So that's pretty much the main difference. Is it's revelations, but it's not like 100% full revelation. You do get the full revelation in the next episode of True Colors, though. Like by then, you get uh, the full reason as to why Typhon, what Typhon was specifically like covering up and whatnot. You get the full thing in the next episode. By the end of the next episode, you get the full thing. But at the very least, you got a majority of it here. So that's a plus. But primarily, the more upbeat, jovial stuff is mostly what brings this up more. Which, if you could tell by my by what's getting getting top in the S tiers, primarily is mostly the like jovial stuff is usually what's getting up here. Cause episode 3, Chaos Theory here, a majority of this is like jovial stuff. Cause this has the whole like pool thing with Max and Chloe, the whole kissing dare thing and whatnot, which is like all of that stuff primarily is like happy, joyful stuff. Before the wheelchair thing at the end, when you change the timeline, which so reality, the sadness kind of comes in at the end. And then Dark Room primarily is probably the darkest episode because you get all the revelations, and depending on certain actions that you do, the entire episode can get extremely dark. Even though primarily there's way more darker aspects that have to happen because the revelation of what happens to Rachel and everything. The beginning episode with the whole wheelchair timeline revelations that got very dark towards the end of that, and then the end of the episode with the revelation of Jefferson and Chloe being shot in the head and killed and all that stuff. So yeah, this is the darkest episode, but as I said before, episode 3 and 4 of the original Life is Strange pretty much feels like one gigantic episode that they kind of split into, because these two episodes like flow into each other. Like obviously they flow into each other directly because the end of episode 3 directly is picked up at the beginning of episode 4. So it really feels like this is just one gigantic episode that they just cut in half. And then obviously the Tempest episode, Before the Storm, which is all entirely like happy, joy feelings, fun stuff. So and then primarily the farewell episode does have a lot of joyful stuff, and then at the end it kind of hits you hits you like a emotional truck at the end. So yeah, it's So yeah, I would give Before the Storm episode 2 and chapter 3 of True Colors are probably the most overall happy episodes out of this. So at least I'm at least for the most part I feel like I'm being like more I feel like I'm being more balanced when it comes to the reasonings of the S tiers up here. But yeah, so with that we will leave it here for now, and then in the next episode, in the when we come back to this, in the next episode of this, uh, we will segue into chapter 4 of excuse me, of True Colors, and we will continue to have Alex here as our little guest of honor as we go into the finale of seeing where the last couple episodes of True Colors rank. so so with that this is JR here signing off, and I will catch you all as always in the next one. Later.